Good morning. I'm sitting here with Mother Cora Farris, and we're going to have a little interview. So I've got some questions. And first, I'd like you to tell us your full name,
My full name is Cora Farris,
spelled C-O-A.
Farris.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And where were you born, Cora?
I was born in Tennessee, 1928, the 16th of August. My next birthday, I think I'll be 95.
Wow, love it. And where in Tennessee? The city?
Well, I was in the country, but the city was Springfield.
Springfield,
Yeah,
right next to Kentucky.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Right.
And tell us about your parents' name.
My father's name was John Holding, and my mother's name was Inez Thomas Holding.
Okay, nice. And where were they from?
The same area in Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
On farmland. We was on the farm.
Okay, and how many siblings did you have?
I just had one sister. Her name was Bessie.
And was she older or younger?
She was older. She was 2 years older than me.
Bessie. What was your neighborhood like? What was the area like where you lived?
Well, it was just country at that time. You know, they had little houses, and I guess we was maybe about, well, if you go for blocks, I said in there where I was about, I said 5 or 6 families, other families, but it was scattered around at that time.
Okay. And did you know your grandparents?
Yes.
Yeah.
My great grandfather was the one that really inspired me of life and told the stories about it. He was a slave, and when his master passed, it was in his will to give my great grandfather a farmhouse. Matter of fact, it was a whole farm. It was just huge. And as years went on, then they began to build other houses, and it got to where the most of the family was just in one area.
Oh, how interesting! And what was his name? We can think about that one.
My memory comes in the slips.
Oh no, of course. Well, do you remember where your grandparents were from? Were they that area?
That's the same area.
Same area. Okay. What was your life like before you attended school?
Well, just a regular childhood life. His name was Thomas.
Oh, okay, Thomas.
He lived to be 105.
Wow.
So most of the teaching of slavery, because it had began to wasn't as bad the time I started growing up as it was before. But he told me, all about slavery and what we had to look forward to when we.
You were just telling me about your grandfather looking at the bird.
His name was Wash Thomas.
Wash Thomas.
Wash Thomas, yes. And we would see the birds flying, and he said that it would be airplane. At that time, I don't think I can't remember just what he said about all
but he knew that we'd be flying someday.
We'd be flying someday.
I love that. What was your school experience like?
Well, my school experience was I couldn't learn. I mean, I could see something and tell you what it was, but I couldn't spell it. And so as I grew, I guess I stayed in school. But as I got older, and then I got grown, and then I got married, and I was going to go back to night school. not back, go to my night school. And I went for a few weeks, and then one night I was getting to leave. The teacher called me in his office, and he set me down. He says, "I want to talk to you." He says, "God has given you a gift of sewing and designing and making things. Put all you can into what you can do and forget about what you can't do. What you can't do, there'll be someone else that will be able to do it for you." So I let go. And during the riots, at that time I lived in Detroit, Michigan, when they had the riots and all of that. And I just was so, it was so many women that had children, and there was no help for them, and they didn't know how to do anything. They hadn't been taught, you know, how to do certain things. And I know sewing was something at that time was very popular in quilting. My mom was a quilter, and I remember at that time she had a sewing machine that you had to pedal, and I would sit down on the floor, and if she would drop a piece of cloth or something, I would grab it and take it and make something out of it. And as time went on, I got there was the lawyers and all at that time in Detroit. Times were different then. I mean, it was a time for the change. And and I'm just so thankful that I was able to grab a hold of what I did. And these lawyers, and white and black, it wasn't just black that helped me. They went to Lansing and talked to the governor and just told him what my problem was, but how gifted I was for sewing, and that I want to have a license to have a school to teach the women, especially ones that had children and they had no skills whatsoever, how to sew. So that come to pass.
Oh, I
So
love
I
that.
take pride in my license that I have. You'll see them.
They're on the wall. I know.
Someone's got to put them on the wall for me. I can't do all of that anymore. I have accepted the fact now that I just can't do what I used to do. I'm coming up on my 95th birthday, so I think that's God for that blessing.
Absolutely.
That I'm in my right mind.
Absolutely. And, well, you talked a little bit about your home experience. Your mom was a quilter. Any other things about your home experience?
Well, my mom was a quilter, and also she was a wonderful cook. She cooked at one of the farm where we stayed for the men that come to the farm in the spring, and they put the crops out and all of that. And I helped her all the time, and I learned to cook, and I love to cook.
I know you're a good cook. Did your family have any traditions? I mean, I know you celebrated Christmas. You told me Thanksgiving dinners and Easter, and
yeah, those days were very important. It was different then than it is now, which they are important, but not as important as those days was back then for us, you know.
A big table spread with lots of food and
cakes. Mom would start baking very early between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was always something getting ready for the Christmas, and all the families got together.
Oh yeah. And then I know you had a tradition of going to church.
Yes, church was very important, and especially Sunday school. We went to Sunday school. That's where you get your teaching from the Bible. And we go to Sunday school. Now I could learn that. I could read the Bible, and I really understood. I mean, I had certain qualities that I could do, and those that I could do, I did all that I could.
That's that. Well, what are some other highlights of your life? Certain friends that stand out, or your marriage, your kids?
Well, I married. I had 3 children. Dawn was my oldest, and I was determined that he was going to go to school and learn all that he could. So he went to Tennessee State, and at that time, oh, children had to dress, men had to dress. So I would go to the resale stores and get the suits and ornaments and that have a shirt and tie
Oh,
every day.
yeah.
And so I solved that problem. And one thing that I got so tickled when he got out of college, he says, "Well, it's one thing I didn't have to wear welfare clothes." And I introduced him to this store that I went to, and then he started going himself.
Oh, I love it.
So I've had a good life, and for this almost, I said, 94 and a half years, that God has blessed me. There's been sickness, I've had surgeries, but the main thing, I'm so thankful that I was thankful to come along at the time that I did to help to make the change, be involved in the change. In 1972, not just black women, poor white women couldn't get a loan or do anything without somebody else signing for them. So I stayed and I tried and tried until I got the change coming in 97, that women was really looked at as a human being and not just someone to work to take care of the children and the husband, and they began to get businesses and all of that. So I'm thankful for that I was able to be a part of that change.
Absolutely. Well, tell us the name of your business.
Cora's and Tears.
And you didn't mention your daughters. What are their names?
My the oldest daughter was Janetta, and my youngest daughter was Renee, her name, and my son, his name was Donald Ray, and he went to college, and he passed in '03, but he had become to be the assistant manager of the Sun Reporter in San Francisco. So he read about when they doing the Jonestown massacre, when all of that. He was a fine young man, and he grew uh, up to be really a part of helping me. And I was able to help to do a lot of things because I went to San Francisco. I did my presentation of the quilt code of the Underground Railroad, how the slaves escaped from the United States into Canada. And then my husband and I bought a farm in Canada, and I was in the area where Uncle Tom's cabin was. So that was quite an experience for me.
Wow.
And we bought the farm in '68, and I sold it in '08. And when I come to Arizona.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thing I wanted to ask you that will come back to me. But who inspired you in your life?
Well, my mom, and then at that time where there was no radios or TVs, and we would go and sit and listen to the older people tell us about slavery and all, and that there would be a change come, but how hard we had to work for it. And I had this one uncle that when he would read the Bible, he would be talking about the Holy Land. And that got into my heart. And I says, when I get grown, I'm going to go to the Holy Land. So in '72, I went to the Holy Land. I was baptized in the River of Jordan.
Wow.
And I bought just a lot of other little things they have in shells. And I still have a whole lot of money. But that's a feeling that I can't explain, but it's just such a joy to know that I was all the trouble that I had of trying to learn all the things that I was able to do, and it was just from the goodness of God.
Oh, and that, and that was what I was going to ask you about travel. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. Um, I, I think I already know this, but what do you consider your life's work?
I didn't understand what you said.
You you have talked about your life's work. Like what has your life been about?
Well, I think it's one thing, the joy that I have in my heart of the gift that God gave me, that I can make anything I see or anything you tell me that you want. I mean, now, as I'm older, you forget a lot, but slowly I'm still good.
You are. Do you have any advice for the upcoming generations?
Well, so much has been said about there is and there isn't, but there is a higher power. And it's one thing that I think about to prove that there's a higher power. Man has gotten so wise, but they can predict the rain, the snow, what time it's going to start, how much it's going to be, but they can't control it.
Right.
So that lets you know that there is a higher power. And I thank God for what He has given me in all the years that I was able to help so many people. And I always had to work under somebody, but I could always help that person that was in front of me do what they wanted to do. And I feel real happy. I have a happy heart about that because don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Take what you know how to do and just do all that you can with it. And with my sewing, I have sewed and I'm still sewing. I mean, when I have to stay in bed all the time, I'm still sewing. So search yourself and see what you really like to do, and just ask God to help you, and He will do that.
I love that. Thank you. Thanks for talking with me today.
Thank you.
Mother Cora, I forgot to ask you what brought you to Arizona.
Well, my son had died a kidney problem, and this particular year, I would always come out by the time difference. I would have celebrate Christmas in Detroit, Christmas Eve. I would take the plane and come to San Francisco. So I got my first attack of arthritis was with my knees, and I had a friend that was a doctor. And when I meet someone, I always claim them as my children. So she helped me through the night, and I caught the flight and come to Tucson. And I was sitting up on the side of the bed, and I was praying. And it's just like you and I sitting here talking, and it says, move to Tucson, Arizona. And I went and sit on the side of the bed, and I told my son, he said, oh, mother, you don't want to go to Arizona. He's there going to still segregate. Oh, he just went off on me. And then he wanted me to go to see a psychiatrist, but the one that's listening to me that the Holy Spirit has spoke to, they know what I'm saying. You don't have to prove it. You just, people say, well, how do you feel? What happened? You wouldn't understand what happens until it happens to you. So this was in December, at Christmas time.
What year? 2008, I think.
No, it was 90.
Okay.
in 96. And so I come out, I stayed with him. I don't couldn't know how many days I stayed with him, but anyway, then I come back. But I knew it wasn't in the need of me telling my husband about what the Holy Spirit was, because he had no faith. And so then I did tell. I had a friend that I told her, and her name was Olivia Carter, an old lady who had been a mentor to me, through the years. And she says, "Well, I can tell you this." She said, "If the Holy Spirit ever speaks to you, go for it. He's going to care what no one else says." So the the 7th of December of 96, my husband passed. He was in Canada at our farm, and I was in Detroit. And so I went and I got all of that straightened out, and I had met her. I closed my business. I had my Cora's in Tears. I had closed that, and I really didn't know just what I was going to do. But after this, I mean, I was free to do whatever I wanted to do, and I had closed my business, and I had got a place. Was that time it was a flea market. That's what they call them in Detroit. So then I got me a booth. It's a flea market, and one Sunday I would go after church, and these 3 ladies came in, and I had all my bedspreads and everything that I had in my shop. I had just a shop in the flea market. And so these ladies come in, and one lady bought a couple of things, and this other lady, she says, "I'm having a house built, and if I send you the measurements, would you make me top treatment?" And I said, "I sure would." I said, "Where are you from?" She says, "Tucson, Arizona." Then I told her about what the Holy Spirit had told me, and she says, "Well, let me know if you really want to come. I'll find you a place to stay, and to just go for it."
Yeah.
So that's how I got to Tucson, and after my husband passed, well, I was free. I could do whatever I wanted to do. I didn't have to get no. What I'm saying, I was free. So I come out in January, and she got the place for me, and I stayed until spring. And I just started looking around, and I had always wanted to have a house built the way that I wanted it. And so I can't think of the era right now, but we can look that up, because I got pictures and everything when they really was start to develop. And now we're talking about 70, 97 back then. And so I had my the house. I come back, but then I went back and had the house built, and then in '08 I sold my farm in Canada, and I come to Tucson. And I had but then my knees, as I thought, was getting so bad, so I had to have surgery, hip surgery. So it was too far for me to be commuting back, because what's the name of the hospital I went to?
TMC or
Uh,
St. Joseph's? St. Joseph's?
No.
St. Mary's.
But anyway, I moved back to Sun City, and I had my surgery. Then 3 years ago, my daughter passed. And I know I needed someone to that I felt that if I needed help as I got older, and I had made friends with a Jesse Morgan here, and we just were just like sisters. And she passed a few years back, but her children seemed to take me as their mom, you know.
Oh,
And it was Barbara Anderson. Barbara was the oldest, and Barbara Anderson, I think her husband was a judge. I think he was the first black judge here in
wow.
Tucson. So I talked to her, and she said, "Well, come on back, and we'll take care. We'll look after you."
Oh,
So
nice.
that's why I'm back where I'm supposed to be,
Yes.
and I'll be here until the Lord calls me home.
Thank you.